remember back to when you were around 4 or 5 years old, and you're walking around maybe a bookstore, and most of the books look the same to you. They all have a hardbook cover. Maybe some of them have a picture, but some of the ones that appealed to me most were the ones that had like eye-popping illustrations, and the only ones you found these in were comic books. So first, I want to demonstrate by showing you one of the first comic books I picked up. Of course, it's going to be the Lady Spider-Man. So, allow me to remove my protective sleeve. And I'll show you some of the illustrations I was talking about. Alright, so Spider-Man right there. Got more ads for Spider-Man. Basically, you got a bunch of more ads. Then you have, there you go. Yeah, easy to read comic book bubbles. And these are just some of the things that I found out were really most interesting to me. So, with that, go to PowerPoint. Alright. And here we go. So, one of the ways comic books my speech today is about three effects that comic books have had on society. So, one of the major effects comic books have had on society is that most of them are picked up for major blockbusters. Most of them are some examples right here. I have the Amazing Spider-Man 2, Avengers, and most recently Batman vs Superman, which I'm sure maybe most of you have seen. And the fact that they impact society is that they're huge in blockbusters. They take in billions every year in movie ticket sales, and they are all highly anticipated movies. So, with that, let me show you a quick clip. There's volume. We have no sound. That clip was from. That clip was from the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, which opened in 2014. It was a movie by Marvel, and its weekend opening first earned $94,320,883, and then the total gross overall was $333,130,606. So this is going to show that big movie blockbusters based on comic books don't make money. Oh, there you go, right there. My second point is that comic books have had a influence in younger generations. I want to present a quote by William Insignières, owner of the Hollywood Comics and Collectibles and comic book industry. In the comic book industry, veteran for 24 years, and he had this to say about younger generations. We see many Wonder Moms and Super Dads bringing their children to the store, and the generation is excited about the upcoming movie or TV show, and the seasoned fans are introduced to them in the original comic books. It's a way for all generations to connect to each other. In this quote, I kind of feel like he's saying that younger generations are more looking forward to comic books and more comic book oriented releases, and it's just a way for people to connect each other with any characters or anything. And another way that comic books have hit popular culture is in the rise of attendance in comic book conventions such as San Diego Comic-Con. So, what these are these huge comic book conventions, and what they are is like you get a bunch of people dressed in costumes, and they go and you just celebrate comic books. They all trade and they sell. There's a lot of merchants there, and there's a lot of opportunity for people in the comic book industry to go sell. I haven't personally been to one of these. I've been wanting to, but as you can see, it's attracts thousands each year, and with the rise of attendance it's kind of limited its capacity. I have a quote from attending Comic-Con, as it's so called, remains a lifelong dream for passionate fans nationwide who long to experience its unparalleled brain-warping panorama of top movie makers, cartoonists, and cosplayers. Unfortunately, the event had threatened to outgrow the San Diego Convention Center years ago, and attendance is now capped at 130,000. This quote from Publishers Weekly explains the popularity of this convention and how difficult it even is to attain a ticket. So right there I have some examples of people. There's a crowd of people right there. It basically is like a huge event year round, and with all these high attendance, it's really hard to get a ticket. And when you do go, you get all these cosplayers and stuff. So it's pretty interesting how just from comic books, it's like a whole gathering just from that. And so today, I explained to you 3 reasons why comic books have had such an effect on society. Because first of all, their high movie, their movie attendance, or not attendance, basically the adaptions of movies, they raise, you see the ad of them in the commercials, or when watching TV, you see like a big ad for like a big movie, and it's usually comic book oriented. And second is in the huge the influencing of our culture, because it's a way to really connect with younger generations of kids. Kids like to see like the Avengers and stuff like that. So when you see that, it's kind of a cool to see how young kids are just getting into it. And my third point was in the rise of attendance at comic book events. And like I explained, the San Diego Comic-Con was a big deal. And yeah, that would be it. So just from that 3-pan society, it seems like we have had a huge impact on society. Comic books have had a huge impact on society. Thank you.
All right, Karen, what did you think?
Not here.
She's not here. Well, darn. All right, well, I'll tell you what I thought. I like the visualization at the beginning of the kid in the bookstore and suddenly eyeing a comic book. I like that idea. You identify the topic pretty clearly. I'm not exactly sure what your goal is for the presentation. You do finally get to something that would constitute a thesis. Please sit down. It feels a little weird talking to you while you're standing up there like that. It feels like it just needs to be sharper at the beginning. You also have a preview, but your preview doesn't outline what the supporting points are going to be. It actually comes closer to identifying what the thesis statement for the presentation is going to be. I thought you did a good job for the most part with the supporting material. I heard some quotes. I heard some information about the Comic-Con. I heard a little bit of information about the popularity of the movies, for instance, and how much money they make, so I thought that was okay. There's probably room for a little bit more information like that. It's not that complicated to explain. Most things in the presentation are pretty basic, so I don't know that you're adding a whole lot of information. This would be one of those speeches where you're highlighting the information or you're reviewing information. It's not you're introducing us to something that's particularly new. I think that the subject matter is probably interesting to the audience to begin with, and then you've got a few visuals that add something to that. I like you're taking the comic book out of the slide, the protective cover. Thank you. I know that's very dangerous. You don't want to decrease the value of that very expensive item. To show us the pictures. I thought that worked pretty well. It's organized topically. Like I said, you didn't lay out what those sections were going to be at the beginning of the speech, although you gave us a general direction. But during the presentation, you had a slide usually for each of those points, so you're really organizing it and making the transitions more than anything else with the visual materials. Some of the visuals add interest to the subject. They don't always explain concepts. You needed to obviously have a little bit more practice with the visuals. There were occasional complications. I know it's tough to do when you don't have an Elmo camera at home and you're not quite sure what the setting is on the volume, because there's probably a way to adjust the volume, but that's one of those things that you have to test out before you get started. It really feels like it's under-rehearsed. It's like you did the research, you put it together, you've got it, but you haven't practiced it, you haven't gone through it a dozen times. You're struggling to figure out what the next thing you're going to say is and how to say it. I didn't think you were overly dependent on the script, but I did think that you were overly dependent on the structure, and because you hadn't practiced it, it wasn't always developing the way it needed to, and that'd be something that you need to work on. When you watch your video back, you're going to be a little bit shaken at some point because the camera fell over while that was going on. Everything went out of focus. Right now, for instance, my voice is recording, but you're going to get fuzzy look on the picture, but all the sound will be fine. I tried to focus in on you. It focused in on you. It's one of those things that'll adjust when I turn it all off, but I didn't want to do that in the middle of your speech.